Welcome everybody to another edition of Hot Program. I am your host with the most, all the way from the East Coast. And as always, good people, I am in airplane mode. And now a man who wishes he could cure infant hiccups, but has no idea how to do so. A man who needs no introduction. How you doing today?
And a baby who has newborn infant hiccups. Say hello to my little friend. Wait, my wife is saying she's not a newborn anymore at 4 weeks, 4.5 weeks.
Well, I don't know if she's an infant either. How old do you have to be an infant?
1 month is different than 4.
Well, I think infancy lasts more than 1 year, but she's big. She's big. Look at any fisherman would be proud.
It says usually under 1 year old. Yeah.
So and this is the longest I think she stayed on camera, because normally she's like, I'm out. So she needed to be burped, so I have her down here. So but I think I'm the specialist. So hey, I wanted to share. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I'll tell you what I've done for that, and I do recommend this for parents. So every time my wife hands her to me to burp, I burp, and it's so she kind of can learn what I'm expecting, and then I begin the patting on her back to get her going. I'll stretch her out, give you a demonstration like this, just so her body can elongate, and that makes room in her belly. And sometimes, oh, she's looking at the camera. Sometimes she'll just burp because I burped, and if I pick her up to change her, she will look at me and she will burp. So I'm, of course, when I'm trying to burp her, I'm looking for the bigger ones, but she'll give me a little one pretty much right off the bat, about half the time, because she knows that's what I'm after. And I don't know, she's doing all right. I'm doing all right. We're doing all right.
That's good. Hey, Sarah. Hey, Shaking Fist. Good to see everybody here. Good to see you. Hey, Joe. Good to see you. All right, so today we're going to be reacting to a Dark Matter 2525 video. It's called Moral Arguments Were Always a Waste of Time. I haven't seen it, so I'm kind of interested in what he has to say, because there's a certain way in which I think moral arguments were always a waste of time, and then there's another sense in which I don't think we have been making a strong enough moral argument, and I often feel like we are not making the correct moral argument. So
hey, Pocket Locker, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. So we'll see how long it takes for us to get there. But if he doesn't, then we'll get there at the end. So hang in there, gang, and we'll see what happens. I don't think he
can hear me.
I can hear you. You can't hear me? I don't think he can hear me. It's not good. All right, I guess I'll come right back. So okay, no, he's here. All right, hang on. All right, welcome back. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into it. Roll tape.
This video is probably going to get me into some trouble, but I can't avoid talking about this anymore. More than anything, I think it was my own denial that kept me from figuring it out well enough to be able to speak about it. I'm almost 50 years old, and I thought that by now, when my life is probably more than half over,
Oddly
I would not have
plausible.
much more
Let me turn that up a little bit.
to learn about human nature,
Hey, YouTube
but
punk.
I was wrong. Even to this day, I am continually shocked about how much more cruel and ignorant human beings are. Now, when I was a little boy, I thought the adults were so knowledgeable and they had everything under control. Powerful people in elected offices, the president, Congress, governors, mayors, etc., were supposed to be the best of us. That's what I thought, anyway. But as
Dark Matter looks like a younger version of Michael Beverly. I think it's the beard. I think it's the
It's the
beard.
beard. It's the
Yeah.
beard. I think Dusty Smith looks like a young version of Michael Beverly, but
I
I
think
think
that's
he,
closer. Yeah, it's interesting.
yeah,
as an adult with more understanding about the world, it has become very disconcerting to listen to these people talk and realize just how dumb and dishonest they are. And they're the ones in control. But who put them there? My own neighbors, my fellow Americans. We are a species of terrifying diversity. And I don't mean diversity in the modern sense of race and gender. I mean it in the sense that there are some human beings who are capable of discovering the Higgs boson, while others can't even figure out that the fucking Earth is round or that dinosaurs existed. And that wouldn't be such a problem if the ignorant at least understood that they're ignorant. But they don't. They're arrogant and confident. And it seems like the ignorant are becoming more influential because they have no respect for the knowledgeable.
All right.
can you
Now,
pause it?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
thank you.
Go ahead.
All right. These last few days, I've been having a conversation with one of my new neighbors who is a Trump supporter, and he is a doctor. And I can confidently say, only if I am dying and he is the only one around would I want him working on me in any capacity. I mean, if I had a headache
Yeah.
or needed to be bandaged in any way, because he may be a brilliant physician, but when it comes to not being a hypocrite, when it comes to processing information, when it comes to comparing and contrasting, he's not showing me a lot of promise. Um, I think what we, and I've mentioned this before on Hot Program, people know of things, people know about things, and some people know things. So, specific topics, a nuclear physicist may be able to speak and write volumes on nuclear physics, but they can't change the oil in their car. They're not the person you talk to about that. And the guy that changes the oil in your car, probably for the most part, isn't going to be very conversational about nuclear physics. So I think what we are seeing is a lot of people, now that we have social media and it's super easy to communicate with people, coming out of the woodwork to express their uninformed opinions. And when you present them with information that shows them they are wrong, unlike when I was a child where people just simply admitted they were wrong or like, you don't know, nobody knows everything, which was something I heard a lot. And I can say about myself, I don't know everything. Instead, now there's I'm just going to repeat what I already said, even though you shot it down.
Hey, Mikey. Hey, Al. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think so. One thought I have is that we have totally misrepresented both as producers and consumers what is intelligence. I had this conversation with a friend of mine because there's another faculty member that they think is like super smart. The quote is one of the maybe the smartest man I know. And this person is a Trump supporter. And I had to explain that they're disqualified from being one of the smartest people I know. Or for me, they're disqualified from even being a smart person
Mm-hmm.
because I said intelligence is something you demonstrate to me. And I am about what I consider to be instrumental intelligence. Like, what can you do as a result of your intelligence? And to me, being able to fix things, being able to build stuff, being able to teach or whatever, those type of things make a lot of money. Those things are impressive to me, but only when they are in addition to basics. And so, right, like, because you could do some things that are, let me be clear, you can do some things that require a lot of intelligence. But something I think we mistake is we mistake us being an intelligent species with what it means to say you're an intelligent person. See, I could say at some level, everybody's an intelligent person. Can you tie your shoes? Can you make ham, bacon, and pancakes for breakfast? Can you drive a motor vehicle from your state to another state safely? Right? These are things chipmunks can't do. These are things dogs can't do. Right?
Typically, yeah.
So it means something when we say we're an intelligent species. It means that we routinely and at a normal level do things that require, relative to other things, a high degree of intelligence. But when we say someone is an intelligent person, especially when we start adding hyperbole and superlatives, like one of the most intelligent people or the most intelligent person I've ever met, now we're saying relative to the human population, right?
That's right.
They're at one extreme of the distribution. And so let me be clear. I'm not saying that a person like that can't do things that require a high degree of intelligence, but to be one of the most intelligent people, you have to have those abilities in addition to basic instrumental intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And basic instrumental intelligence for me, you could think of it as just stuff like, what does your it's like how does your ability interact with the rest of us? When you can fix a car or make yourself a lot of money, all that's good for you. But I'm concerned about what happens when your intelligence starts interacting with me. And if I have to tell you as a grown adult that you shouldn't vote for the traitor, you shouldn't vote for a felon, you shouldn't vote for a bigot, you shouldn't vote for the person that said they can suspend the Constitution, if I have to actually explain to you that that's not a good idea, you're lacking major shit. And you can't do the basic thing of evaluate two candidates where there's an extreme difference. There's literally like basically zero, there's next to no overlap between these two candidates on most issues. And you can't pick the right one. I'm sorry, you have missed major stuff. Now, let's tie this to the rest of us as producers of intelligence. We've produced too many people like the person I'm talking about, like the neighbor you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
because we've told people don't really get educated for education's sake. Get educated to be successful. And we've told them success is money. So then they've used the educational system to get personal leverage where they can extract a lot of money out of the economy. And we tell them they're successful. So here's a person, they went to college and med school and residency, and nowhere along the line did anybody say, I'm not going to make doctors who don't understand basic shit about society and civilization and how to be a functional human being. And so that is something that the rest of us have to correct. That should not be okay to us. There should be certain levels of society and echelon where we say, "Now you can't even think about work and careers like that until you have the basics down."
Yeah.
And we don't do that. Now, also to speak to what he's talking about, I think part of what we fail to be honest with ourselves about is the sort of chest beating that so many ignorant people of faith do. And it's true that the ignorant don't realize they're ignorant.
No.
They think they figured it out. They don't want to be bothered with the deep state. They don't want to be bothered with the communists in the ivory towers, the godless left, and all of this type of stuff. But I want to let him go. But I will say, I think it's really time for some of us to return that smoke. You have to be willing to tell these people, sorry, dude, you don't have the basics figured out. Sorry, bro, if you really think the earth is flat or we were created by a supernatural wizard or the earth is 10,000 years old, like you're delusional. You're not you need to get a grip. I think we've over accommodated this stuff and it hasn't gotten us where we need to be. It's time we do something different. To me, the worst thing you can do in society, in any situation in life, really, is to see a problem, know it's a problem, know things are bad, see the potential for things to get worse, and not do anything differently. So I think inertia is oftentimes the greatest enemy of humanity. It's just people really hate change, and we really hate having to take a new approach to things.
Pocket Locker, if I'm not interrupting, can you put the shaken fists comments up? Let's
Hey,
see which
Bree.
one specifically, because they made me think of something. I am not sure nowadays. There's a lot saying they are okay with not knowing anything because the elites are evil and knowing things is bad.
That's part of their worldview.
The second thing, devil made the facts or the Illuminati or whatever. I gave no thought to this, so thank you, the shaken fist. The story of the Garden of Eden with the talking snake sounds legit, with the talking snake challenging what God said in the story, saying that God was wrong. So God is the authority. The snake is the challenge to the authority. The snake is correct and demonized.
Yep.
Not the people who lied, not the people who were wrong, right? Not the entity that misled his people, not the entity that presented danger to those people, but the one who said, no, that's not what that eating fruit from that tree does. You will be like gods knowing good from evil, as the story goes. We have a basic need in our society for the individuals that live within the society to understand the difference between good and evil. And if you've taken that away from people, what you're saying, in my opinion, by doing that is you don't want to be accountable when you do evil.
And this is part of the argument to me that's in a sense against religious liberty. There's an argument that says to me that you therefore you should not indoctrinate children. Therefore, it's really important that we don't let these cults indoctrinate children with evil worldviews before they are old enough to think for themselves, because it's reliably and consistently producing harm. All right, let me roll some tape so we can keep going.
Okay.
My most recent disillusionment has been a tough pill to swallow, and it is this. I've wasted so much time arguing about genocide in the Bible. Did you know that the Bible claims
cumulative case.
that
There we go,
God
punk.
commanded Israelites to kill children and babies? I'd ask. And there's no arguing about whether it is claimed in the Bible that the God character made such commands. They're pretty explicit. Nobody can deny it. Every apologist
Hang on.
commanded that the Bible claims that God commanded Israelites to kill children and babies. I'd ask. And there's no arguing about whether it is claimed in the Bible that the God character made such commands. They're pretty explicit. Nobody can deny it. Every apologist admits it. And they have various excuses, right? God must have had a good reason, they say. Perhaps God knew that they would be evil. Perhaps they'd seek revenge if they were allowed to grow up. It was best for them because they got to go to heaven. God created life so God can take life. They needed to be totally wiped out because they were evil people who did child sacrifice, so they all needed to die, even their children. You've all heard the excuses. But you know what I've realized as I've reached nearly a half century in age? I've realized the hard truth. And the truth is, they don't care. The excuses.
Oh, whoa.
And the truth is, they don't care.
Y'all, we need to sit with this for a minute. We just need to sit with this. I didn't know, like I said, I didn't see this. I didn't know what this was about. I love Dark Matter 25, so I knew it'd be an interesting conversation. But this is what I hoped this was about. This is what I hoped it was. And I don't want to trivialize this. I don't want to blow through this, y'all. We have to really think about what he's saying, because I think he's so right. And this is where I was going. All right, this is the perfect time for me to tell y'all what I was thinking about this. The idea that moral arguments are a waste of time or have always been a waste of time, I completely agree with him for this reason. It's always been evil. They've always been arguing from a place of having to defend evil. Where I flip it is, I think that means that there's a different moral argument that we need to be having, and it's not with apologists, it's with the believers in our lives. And that means it's time to tell the believers in our lives, this is not moral, this is evil. And that's the moral argument we're not having. So we're wasting time with the apologists, we're wasting time with the defenders, and we might even be wasting time with a lot of people of faith. But we are failing on the two main prongs of my arguments against faith. The first, of course, is that it's not true. That's one of the most powerful things that believers need to understand, and we're not telling them. We're simply not telling them that what they believe is not true, or at least, at the very least, that we don't believe it. And then the second thing is we're not telling them that it's not good. It's not moral. We're almost we're letting them get away with it. We're letting them get away with the bullshit about community, the bullshit about hope, meaning, and purpose, the bullshit about Jesus helped me find my car keys, the bullshit about Jesus helps me get out of a dark place in my life. And we're failing to look them straight in the face and say, you mean the God who in this book told his people to kill children? This book right
Multiple
here
times.
that includes a handbook for slavery. This book, we're playing this game that, to be honest, I'm not quite half a century, but as a 37-year-old man, feels very beneath me. And it feels very gross that grown people want to play this game. I laid in bed the other night and I said to myself, and it's probably gonna get this video demonetized, but I had a certain awareness and compassion for people who despair so much that they decide to unalive themselves.
Overwhelming sense
Because
of
it
impending
feels,
doom.
yeah, it was literally an overwhelming sense of impending doom. I just felt like I get for people that it must feel so hard to take life seriously when it feels like you're surrounded with people who don't. We're in a country right now. We less than 2 weeks away. Half of this fucking country is voting for Donald Trump, y'all. What the
Really
what are
yeah.
we doing? What are we doing?
Well,
Those are not grown people.
the challenges I've made sometimes begin with the question, and this is with Christians as well. Tell me about the kind of world or country that you want to live in. No crime, no gun violence. Usually those are separate. I want to be able to afford this and that. It goes on and on and on. And for the most part, we can agree with those people that those are things we'd also like to see about the world. When it comes to the election, when we point out this is an adjudicated rapist, this is a person that has cheated his contractors. It's been proven that he overcharged the United States government for his Secret Service agents staying at Mar-a-Lago. He stole documents. He told government secrets to civilians. And we could just go on and on. Like, this is documented. Just like we can go through God in the Bible kills King David's son. God in the Bible kills the firstborn of Egypt. God in the Bible, I could just go on and on and on about all these terrible things that God in the Bible admits to. Ezekiel 20, my go-to. Like, if you want another personification of evil, Ezekiel 20, the God of the Bible tells you who he is. And those people will look me in the face just like they look you in the face. And they say, but. As if the chief alternative we are presented with, Kamala Harris, not believing in the God of the Bible, the chief alternative, which has almost or none of the same flaws, isn't better than choosing the flawed choice.
The really interesting thing is
It's
she's
astonishing.
actually the one who sincerely believes in the God of the Bible, which is a whole nother issue. Um, the thing and I agree with everything. So I just wanted to sort of reiterate what I was saying, which is I really got the way in which even for people, even for a person who some could say is doing okay or doing pretty well, it's like housing is killing people. The price of food is killing people. People can't afford to get sick or have a medical situation.
Mm-hmm.
People have a choice between, most people have a choice between living a life thoroughly undervalued, underprivileged, and under-resourced, or spending most of your life seriously in debt just to get an education. There's just a certain cruelty to the world that doesn't need to be there. There's plenty to go around. There's plenty enough that look, y'all. Can we just be real for a second? In most places in this country, do do people go to school for free if you want? Yeah. Can you go to the public school for free? Yeah. Okay. Do we know that for many, if not most, serious careers in this country, you need a college education? Yeah. Has it been time to expand the notion of K-12 to K-16? Yeah. Then what the fuck are we doing? Why is it 2024 and people are going 6 figures into debt to go to college? When is something not making sense going to make us change it? Because when we don't, there's a certain cruelty to it. Me and Michael Beverly were talking about end of life. Guess what, folks? Don't get sick. Don't get terminally ill right now. Because you know what you don't have? You don't have the right to die. Most places. You don't. So if your doctor says you're terminally ill, you're screwed. You don't get to say, well, doc, I don't want to make this long and miserable. Can you give me a heroic dose of some opiate and peace on out of here and this could be my last day? Nope. You're going to have to ride it out and die a miserable, long-suffering death. Why? Because these people won't give you autonomy over your own body. And so it makes sense for somebody to just say, no, you don't take my life seriously. So why? Why should I play this game of life as a human being when my humanity doesn't matter? And I just have to deal with the cruelty. I just have to be economically miserable my entire life while seeing nothing but abundance all around me until the day I'm old and dying and miserable and nobody will let me do anything about it. And there's just a certain cruelty that should not be okay to us. But again, there's almost half or in a sense even some sort of serious majority and electorally sort of almost like a super majority of people who just can't meaningfully move towards getting us the basics.
I think in the United States, there's a major problem, and it's not seen as one because a lot of people don't embrace what I'm about to say. The beauty of America isn't where we come from; it's our potential. There's so much potential to be further along than we are. That isn't new. It's been there for 100 years. But people have been pulling back on the progress, right? They've been yanking on the reins for far longer than 100 years. What do you mean equality?
Right.
What do you mean we're not all the same? And that doesn't mean that this guy can't run faster than anyone. That means that person is not as smart as this person or doesn't have the same opportunities. There are people born with disabilities. I was terrified that something could be wrong with my child, right? Which meant her life would have a completely different set of circumstances I was utterly unprepared for.
Yeah.
A lot of parents go through that. The idea that the founding documents of this nation say that all are created equal, I mean, amidst its hypocrisy, right? Other
Right.
places, because they didn't consider Black people equal, which is why we have an electoral college.
They considered all landowning white men above the age of 21 to
Right. And a
be
lot of people,
enfranchised. I wouldn't even say equal, but enfranchised.
and so when we have this discussion or these discussions, we'll often hear a person lobby for their subculture, their subgroup. Well, I think anybody with a family, you know, if you have children, your children should get a vote, and the parents can decide who those votes go to until the children are of age. I can only guess that person who comes up with that has kids.
Right.
A person might say, well, I don't think women should have the right to vote anymore. I can only guess that person's wife doesn't vote the same way that they do. And when a woman says it, I would happily tell her, ma'am, you don't have a right to take it away from other people, but if you choose not to vote, that's okay.
No, but even
It
then,
would
a
be
lot of
better
them,
if you got
a lot
informed and
of
made up your mind. Go
a
ahead.
lot of them do so because they believe that effectively, a lot of times it's conservative women, right, who want ostensibly things to go to the right. And so they believe that women voting pulls the vote to the left. So if they believe if women didn't vote, they'd have a more godly society, right? For instance, right now, a lot of them believe because it's hot right now. It's a hot topic. It's been a hot topic since Trump came on the scene. Well, why is it? It's because Trump dominates with white men. So if they could go back to a time when only white men voted, they wouldn't have to they wouldn't even have to worry about the Democratic Party. They wouldn't have to worry about the left. They wouldn't have to worry about the woke. They wouldn't have to worry about Black Lives Matter. So to your point, it's them thinking that that's a shortcut to get what they perceive as their best interest.
Mhm.
So yeah, they're willing to take away other women's rights to vote if that means they get what they want politically.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
people who continue in that vein where they want it for their group, but not for other groups, are hard to talk to because while they know they're hypocritical, they are feeling a sense of loss because they don't have an advantage. When I work on the various projects that I do, I try to hire the best people I can freaking find. I'm freelance. I do my best to hire the best people I can freaking find. The issue with that is so do other people. They're looking to get those people too. So there's a competition. So if I have an opportunity to get someone who's pretty good and strengthen them, sometimes it's worth taking. Like, look, I know if I keep looking and looking and try to give this guy a little more money to get him to leave his job, somebody's going to do the same with me. But if I get this person who I says, I'm going to teach you the 10 things you need to know that are based on things you already know, so you can be excellent at this, that person, I'll probably win their loyalty. I've had numerous employees tell me, I will quit any job I have to come work for you again. So I think I did something right with those people.
Right.
But those are people often I've given a chance to, or when they worked for me, I took very good care of them. Down to even saying to one of my supervisors, I need to hire this person. You don't have the budget to pay them what they're asking for. Take it out of mine. Take it out of what you pay me. You'd give up your salary, some of your salary to hire that person. I said, you're darn right. And when you see her do her job, you're gonna understand why. And he wrote to me, he goes, I see why you hired her.
Yeah, yeah, that's great.
So, I think we can't be afraid for someone else to do well. If we had a nation that was focused on everybody who's here or anywhere else doing well at their goals that are productive, we wouldn't need gangs to convince kids that they're the only group of
But
people
see,
willing to give them a
this is part
chance.
of the thing. I think
Go ahead.
I think that's part of the thing with religion is they're not wired that way. They're wired to put their group above all. I think a big part of the problem I'm seeing now, even with um, a lot of the current conflict, is you know I think we're butting up against certain things. I think a lot of the people who are defending Israel, it's very much feeling like they're buying into the notion that they're the chosen people. It turns out
Yes, a lot of people feel that way.
never again did it mean never again for anyone. It meant never again for them. And they seem to be doing they seem to be taking a very biblical approach to things. And then a lot of people are coming along and saying, well, this is their homeland, this is their and even atheists and secular people and people on the left, and they're literally buying into their holy book. They're literally they're 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 acting as though their fictive history is real history, and then apologizing for a real genocide. And so it gets to a point where we have to look at the ugliness, and we have to say, number one, Israel's committed war crimes, and maybe has gone far enough to even delegitimize itself as an independent state. You don't like them apples, don't elect fascists, and don't do genocides. And but on top of that, we have to look the people in the face, including the people here that are supporting it, and saying, "Sorry, you're not the chosen people." And look, y'all, like there's a real genocide going on. So I will say
Mhm.
this: shame on you if you're not willing to look those people in the face and say you're not the chosen people, because you have to care more about the real lives being lost than the fictive history being lost.
Can I dovetail something of what you're
Sure,
saying,
sure,
Pocket Locker?
yeah,
So one of the things, there's numerous things about the Israel situation with the indiscriminate killing of Palestinians that bothers me is if they could just pick up some history books and understand that many of the Muslim Palestinians had Jewish ancestors before 638 Common Era, when Muslims came in and invaded Israel and people converted to Islam. So I've said it numerous times, they're killing their cousins. They don't even understand the connection that's there. And so that may not make it any harder for those that are in power ordering the violence to continue it, be that a Hamas person or a person with the Israeli government. A fact remains that you have Palestinians that are not militants saying, please stop this war. And you have Israelis who are non militaristic and probably some in the military saying, please stop this war. It's unjust. It's unwarranted. All the people they wanted to hurt, right? Almost all of them are, all the ones that caused the problem are probably all gone. Or they fled to another country because they had the resource to do so. So all these innocent people are left behind. And we're being told they were in the way of someone who was dangerous. So they are collateral damage. I don't know.
yeah. I just I just blocked Bless Be He and restreamed. They've been blocked on my channel for a long time, but I don't have any tolerance for that. Israel is blessed right now. I just don't. Like, again, like, believe these lies if you want to, but you can't just go spewing that stuff in polite company and not expect there to be consequences. They're bombing hospitals, they're killing children, they're killing
Mhm.
men and babies. You want to turn around and tell me they're I just don't have any.
Blowing
I'm
up
sorry.
neighborhoods.
I don't have any I don't have any tolerance for that.
The excuses they give for the God of the Bible aren't really excuses for God. They're excuses for themselves so that they can pretend to be moral. The truth is, they don't care about the slaughter of children, and they don't care about whether God commanded it or not. How could I say such a thing? Well, because it's happening right now as I speak these words, and they still
Yeah, you're
don't.
welcome, gang. Sorry, like, we're we stream on my channels, but when we do Hot Program, it's also on my One Black Friends channel and the Hot Program channel. And so Bless B, he's been blocked on my channel for a long time, but she can go on the other channels and then it comes through the restream chat. But I just blocked her on all of them. I again, if you want to like troll me about evolution, like, I don't care. Creationists, they stupid shit to me all the time, but that's just too far.
Care. And this time, they don't even have the excuse that God commanded it because it's not in a so-called holy book to tell them what to think.
No problem, y'all.
Once again, the Israelites are slaughtering children and entire neighborhoods. And what are the good Christians of America doing about it? They're sending them weapons and money. That's what. And this is one of the very few bipartisan issues that exist. So it's not like you can just vote the problem away. Though while Trump has always provided and expressed strong support for Israel with our tax dollars, I will say
I want to say something too, like, because I totally agree with him, and this is monstrous, and I know I'm a Kamala supporter. I look, I think it's going to be Trump or Kamala. I think Kamala's expressed support for a ceasefire. I think most people who are serious about a ceasefire have endorsed Kamala. I do understand that people on the left also don't support Kamala over this and want to protest her too. I don't think that's good for the people of Israel because Trump will give them what they want. But I want to talk to you guys a little bit about something I experienced to help bring out this difference. And it was way before the October 7th incident. It was way before the current escalation in what we see. It was actually even before COVID. So back in 2019, when I was playing at a church, I spent a lot of time hanging out with the, young lady I was hanging out with. We were hanging out. She's a Christian, so Christians don't do boyfriends or whatever, right? Um, so that type of Christian doesn't do boyfriend, I should say. But we spent a lot of time together, and so she worked for the Speaker of the House for the state I lived in at the time, which is Michigan. And the Speaker of the House was a Republican. And so, one of our little mini dates or whatever was I came to the Capitol. You guys know I used to work in law, I used to work in politics, so I love a good tour of the facilities. And she took me into the speaker's office where she works, and there was an Israeli flag there. And I just remember asking, like, I just remember feeling like this is so weird. And it felt wrong. It felt wrong. Like, even as somebody who, like, doesn't, I don't think flags are pieces of cloth. I don't think they mean much. But there was something to my sensibilities that said, what part of being a representative of the state of Michigan in the United States of America is you flying an Israeli flag? And so then I'm like, well, are they from Israel? If they're from Israel, it's all love, right? If it's just
You can understand that.
yeah. If you just want to rep your country and fly your flag, that's fine. No, of course, white guy, right? And so she was just like, oh yeah, he's just super pro Israel and da 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 da. Like, and oh okay, cool. I just thought that was weird. So I brought that up to say to y'all that's part of the difference we need to be thinking about, right? It isn't just the top of the ticket. You know, Kamala's like, yeah, I support a ceasefire, and Trump is like, I support giving Netanyahu whatever the hell he wants. But we're talking about all the way down the ethos and culture within those two parties, that even down to local and state level officials, Democrats are largely going to be supportive of a ceasefire, and nevertheless, they're going to be supportive of holding Israel accountable and, like, at least not being a second wing of the Israeli government, while Republicans literally fly Israeli flags in their offices, y'all. You gotta be serious about that difference. So yeah, I just want to throw that in there. But yeah, I'm with him. I think this is and this is it. This is it. Like, and again, this is like, I don't want to say a good time. But I think in being effective in creating change in life, there's a serious thing. Leverage is real and opportunity is real. And I think that the current situation we find ourselves in, if we take it seriously, there is an opportunity to leverage this moment to call this shit out, to say it is 2024, we are done with this. This is just like the Bible. The Israelites are allowed to genocide because God said that it's their holy land. We're tired of this. We don't want to deal with this anymore, and we're done. And we're calling your bluff. You no longer have the moral high ground. You surrendered that. We no longer want to play Yahweh games. We're done with the Yahweh Hunger Games. I got to be honest with you, man. I was dumb. I was really shocked when this happened, because COVID happened. And the one thing, I hate COVID. I'm still deathly scared of COVID. COVID still dominates my life. But when COVID happened, the one thing I noticed was we weren't talking about war. You know, the act of fighting was actually more dangerous than whatever you thought you were going to accomplish by fighting, right? It was like you could try to kill another enemy right now, but just your army getting together to figure out how to do so is probably going to kill more of your army than the enemy. So war just didn't make a whole lot of sense during a pandemic, and that's like the one silver lining in a pandemic. And I was stupid enough to think that people were actually reflecting on that. I was dumb enough to think people were actually going, yeah, maybe that whole, like, bombing people because they live in the wrong border is like maybe something we just shouldn't do anymore. But boy, it's like it was the opposite. It was like as soon as COVID started to recede just a little bit, the warmongers were like, "Coach, put me in the game. I've been sitting on the bench." Like they were just right back at it. And so then we got Ukraine, and then we get this, and then we got all the other genocides that's picked right back up. And it's like, and now it's just like the pre-COVID map. There's just war and conflict all over the place, and maybe even we have some additional ones. So I don't know, y'all. What are we doing? Like, I just I say you should never want to live through pandemic, and you never want to live through wars, and we're living through all of this, and I just don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't even understand. Like, I know I sound naive, y'all, but I literally don't even understand war in the current context. I don't understand how there's still some sort of super high level global structuring of governments and arrangements that war is even possible. I just don't understand it.
Well,
All right.
It's funny who simply wins a war without losing something that is more valuable than the war itself. You know, you lose all those people. The other side loses all those people. And the chances are the war should be between the two roomfuls of people that decided to go to war. And they should leave everybody else out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one of them standing, somebody can pat them on the back saying, good job. Now, we decided not to fight each other, the rest of us, because there's
Right.
nothing in it for us. Nothing at all. But you do you. You had your war, probably not satisfied because you didn't get what you want. You know, the two populations don't need a change. But, you know, Putin, he thinks it's his legacy. So he wants to take Ukraine back, just like he did with Georgia, right? Only he could buy Georgian officials, you know, to steal from that country. He didn't have that same luck with Ukraine, I guess, as far as I know. But yeah, people just taking what doesn't belong to them and feeling really good about it and having some big, powerful group behind them, be it their own army or someone else's, to help them do it and make sure they succeed. It's terrible.
Yep. All right, let's roll some tape.
That at least the Democrats are starting to express some willingness to withhold support, a baby step in the
Oh,
right.
I remember what I was gonna say real quick. It is important to recognize that the Democrats have a better position on this, but I do think this is really serious, and I do think that even if Kamala Harris were to win, which is what I hope happens, this will define her first presidency, and if she doesn't handle this appropriately, her legacy as a American leader may already be in the tank. It may already be done. So you know, come, I wouldn't quite say November 6th, but maybe, you know, January 7th or January 20th, once she takes the oath of office, it's then going to be all hands on deck. What are you doing about the situation in the Middle East? I don't want to hear no nothing. 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 We put you in there, get it done. So, yeah, go ahead.
Well, finish your thought, but I'd like to know.
No, that's it. That's it.
Is it okay? I would like to know what you think she intends to do once she is in office, if that ends up being the case.
I think she intends, I hate to say this, I think she intends to ask nicely. I think she intends to really, you know, make it clear to Israel that it just has to stop. I think she may go as far as to try to pressure Congress to pass something or do some sort of resolution that, to be honest, I don't think really will amount to much other than asking nicely. But I think if pushed hard enough in the right ways, it could be enough to where I think the better possibilities would be her pressuring Congress to do something that's not just asking nicely, but is the threat of withholding resources. That's not just, we're not asking nicely now. It's we're literally saying stop or else. I don't think it'll be a military threat. I think it'll be a threat of withholding U.S. support. I think one step further, and now I think in fantasy land, but not impossible, but I'm in fantasy land, is her doing some sort of executive action that is a threat to withhold resources. what I would love to see is her say this stops now, or else the U.S. is going to go to war with Israel. I'm just not going to play this game anymore. I don't think the American electorate has any stomach for that. I don't necessarily even blame, I don't even put that on her. I actually put that on us. I literally think it's our fault that as a citizenry, we don't have the stomach to do what we need to do to intervene. But yeah, that's sort of the range of possibilities I see.
Okay, now what if you, pocket locker, were president? And in that same situation, given the, let's say the problems are still going on over there, they're killing off Palestinians to the left and to the right indiscriminately.
I think I already sent the military. I think my thing is, I would say I said I supported a ceasefire as a candidate. When I became elected and you hadn't done a ceasefire and you knew I wanted a ceasefire, it was too late. I think I'm sending troops on day one. I don't have the same political inclinations Kamala Harris does.
You're not trying to be president forever, huh?
I ain't trying to be president forever. Exactly.
I don't think that's
No,
what she wants either.
I already sent troops.
I think the question is a hard question. I know
It was a hard question.
You immediately have an answer, but the question is a hard question because obviously my thoughts are always with the innocent. I do wish I could put all the people who want to fight together in the same space and just let them fight. Like, you got to realize when you emerge from the octagon, the rest of us think you're stupid for wanting to fight, right? We would be fine if without the fighting, we'd be fine. But there are those elements who they want to crack heads open. Okay.
Yeah. So UC put, I doubt any prevention will occur. They're all pinned down to the Israel lobbies. This is something that is a problem, and
that's true. Can I answer my questions?
Sure.
You want to put that on the screen? I can't tell if you put it on the screen or not.
That's fine.
So from my point of view, I obviously want to promote the peace process. And if it's possible to do that from the time of the election till I take office, if I could be a part of that, I would want to be a part of that. And I would hope whoever was still in office as president would want to be a part of that too. So they could see, look, we're coming, we can disagree on other policies, but here we're in lockstep that we would love to see peace in the land, right? Get those people their homes back. I would have no trouble picking up the phone, calling some of these Arab billionaires and saying, would you be willing to spend some of your money to rebuild Gaza? I'm sure they would be like, absolutely. Because what's it to them, right? They can spend $5-6 billion and it's no money to them.
See, I think what's happening instead is I think those people are getting together, but I think they're going to send that $5-6 billion to help Israel settle Gaza. I mean, it's already happening. Like that's a big. They're already settling.
I said Arabs, not like
Jewish people
to settle Gaza. I do understand there are plans for that to settle Gaza. Sadly, Gaza has a lot of natural resources that are untapped. I suppose I heard someone say that. If that is the case, they can pick themselves up to some degree. But the idea has to be a two-state solution, which people gone back and forth over this. But someone just has to say, I think really the rest of the world might have to say it. Like, none of them give you anything.
I got to be honest. I think things don't happen until we start seeing Israel as the Fourth Reich and treating it that way, because none of that's the reason we have asked nicely for a ceasefire. Netanyahu's not interested. I think
like Trump.
Yeah, I do think I totally agree with that. I do, and I think I think that's an issue. And then even a two-state solution, every single time, the world community has made it very, very clear they would like to see a two-state solution along the already agreed upon boundaries. Israel will never let it happen. So at some point, you have to deal with the bad guy in the room. And I just think that that's a thing. I think for a lot of reasons, America's relationship with Israel is complicated, and it's complicated at every level. It isn't just their influence in presidential elections; it's their influence in state elections, their influence in local elections. The pro-Israel lobby is pumping a lot of money into our representative government. So that is a huge part of it. We're compromised. We're not in an ethical place. So to me, this is the problem, because Israel's committing a genocide. And the same way, at some point, when people were very clear about what Nazi Germany wanted, the solution was stop the Nazis. Like that's what had to happen. And I think we're in a situation now where that is what has to happen. If you're not going to eliminate Netanyahu and his regime, you're going to ultimately end up needing military action against Israel. And unfortunately, I'm starting to see it as unavoidable. And if I lived in Palestine, I would already be in the too little, too late, and I am horrified and disgusted by the world. Because if I were in Palestine and this was happening in my backyard, military intervention for the rest of the world should have happened a long time ago. A long time ago. Y'all watch social media and turn on the news and see us out here getting bombed every single day, and nobody does anything about it. It's incredibly disheartening.
I do almost wonder if there's an opportunity here to do what some had suggested when Jews were leaving Europe, rather than send them to Israel, have some countries give them their own patch of land. Because the Palestinians were already there. A lot, not just Palestinians, I guess, well, yeah, Palestinians were already there, but they, if we did that with the Palestinians, if we said, look, we want to give you a new homeland, this place has a similar climate.
I don't
There's
think we can
lots
do
of
any of
natural
this. I don't think we can do any of this. That's even, I think it's crazy even to talk about, like, because we're displacing them. They have a homeland. They have a homeland. They have every right to their homeland. The problem is,
I understand, Pocket Locker. I guess I can admit that I'm not the type of person who likes to throw punches. But it's why I don't. Let me tell you, the last fight I was in, the last physical fight I was in, my friends pulled me off of the kid that I was beating the shit out of because they didn't want me to kill him. And the thing I immediately did was started fighting my friends because I wasn't finished.
but honestly, I think that's what Israel needs. I think Israel,
I don't agree.
I think because that is what they're doing to the Palestinians. And the other thing is, I think the entire Israel project is misguided. I understand the horrors of the Holocaust, but the response was to concede the need for an ethno state. And the world is not moving in that direction. There's too many people, there's too many ethnic conflicts, there's too many genocides in the world. We're not gonna do this for everybody. We don't do this for everybody. And matter of fact, we're not even talking about doing it for anybody. When Tsunami talks about genocides going on in Africa, genocides going on in different parts of the world, no one is having a conversation about creating an ethno state for any of those other people anywhere else on earth, because again, you can't do it without displacing people. You can't do it without giving them the ability to create an ethno state where they can then create an apartheid government that excludes others. So it's the Israel project is at as it currently is constructed is just, it's never going to work until the rest of the world says Israel doesn't get special privileges. We're sorry about the Holocaust. You don't get special privileges. That is the land occupied by other people, not your homeland. We're not gonna redo the world map based on what's in the Bible. That's never gonna happen. Stop. So here are your options. We offer the two-state solution. You can either agree to the two-state solution, or we can enforce a one-state solution that is not Israel at the top. So those are really the only two options. It's the two-state solution that everybody's agreed to, but remind you, we're not going to displace the Palestinians because the Palestinians are the ones who are fine with it. It's Israel who keeps rejecting what the rest of the world has already agreed to over and over and over again. So it's either the two-state solution, like for the umpteenth time we offer it to them, or sorry, it's a one-state solution. Palestinian and Israelis have to live together. We'll figure out a representative democratic government, because again, Israel cannot keep rejecting a two-state solution and genociding people. They're the bad guys, and I know you don't. Maybe you're the type who, if somebody came, broke in your house, said, "I want your house," you say, "Fine, I've got enough resources. Me and my family will pack up and we'll go somewhere else."
That person's dead, and you won't find them all either. So that's a different thing.
But I think that's what the Palestinians feel. And I'm not, and again, I'm the type who, you know, somebody comes in here and puts a gun in my face and says, "Give me your camera," they get my camera. But I'm definitely not the type of person who's going to tell other people that they should leave their homeland to avoid conflict with people who are trying to take it from them. But yeah, let's let this go. We're having a great show today. This is awesome.
Direction.
Yeah.
It's a lie.
Yeah, this is a serious hot program.
Try to avoid civilian casualties. The truth is the perfect opposite. They seek civilian casualties. No damage is considered collateral. They shoot people on sight. They tell you where to go to find safety and then attack the so-called safe places and cut off any aid to those places. They give you their so-called warnings in English, not for the non-English speakers they target, but for us, so that we believe that they're the good guys. They deny them food, water, and medicine, with blockades and even outright attacks against aid workers. The children who aren't buried under rubble are slowly being starved to death, and they don't care. There are conservative Christians in the United States who will cry out about an aborted 6-week-old fetus that doesn't even yet have the equipment for consciousness. Yet when faced with starving toddlers or children blown to pieces, they'll say that Israel has the right to defend itself. They claim to be pro-life and pro-family, except for when entire families are buried under rubble, families who are found guilty simply because of where they lived, as if they had any other choice.
Now this is the tone that we should be taking with this people. How dare you? How dare you look me in my face and say you are pro-life because you refuse to accept the death of a child that hasn't been born, but support this regime that is murdering children.
Yeah, this is a strong point, and it's sort of what I was talking about earlier to some degree, where the God of the Bible, in my opinion, is not good. And I can't be a Christian. I'm sorry. I can't be a Jewish person. I'm sorry, because when I look at the God of the Bible, I see one of the most detestable characters ever created in a story.
That's right.
And I have been asked, if God could prove himself to be real to you, would you worship him? And I basically was, after I finished talking to him, telling him what his effing problem was, the answer is still no. it's still no.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any God, any deity should know better. I shouldn't have to be able to tell that deity how to be a better individual than me. But with the God of the Bible, it doesn't take me much to be able to instruct him on how to be a better God,
Yeah. And
right?
Sumami's brought up some really good points, which is one that it's difficult. People put too much of this on the president, and you have to understand
Yeah.
that the right, the left, the independent, the socialists, the MAGA, it doesn't matter. They all are getting a lot of this pro-Israel money, and that's part of the issue of getting money out of politics. This is one of the prime examples of getting money out of politics. Literally, we will not withhold resources from a nation committing a genocide because the people who support the genocide are lining the pockets of our politicians. That is a fact. This is all facts. You can just look up whoever your favorite politician is, look up where they get their money from. This is known. This is basic stuff. This is 2 + 2 = 4. So it's crazy. The other thing, they've allowed even more hardline far right party to get control of their own country. If they don't handle their own business, the people of Israel themselves are also fucked. Yeah, and they are, and it's something that I have had to come to grips with. A lot of the narrative that people want is they want to blame it all on Netanyahu, and the craziness. It's very clear to me that many people in Israel support what he's doing. Even the reality is that so much of the pushback to Netanyahu was about his corruption, not his ethnic cleansing, not his desire to wipe out Palestine. I'm not saying that there are not a lot of Israeli people that are protesting or that oppose the genocide. But what I'm saying is the same way we say, look, I can't make the war in Palestine my top priority right now because I've got to fight off the fact that over half of my country right now is trying to elect a fascist dictator here. Israel has to come face to face with the fact that they have allowed this genocidal instinct to fester, not just in their government, but amongst their people to such a level that they now cannot put that genie back in the bottle themselves. So yeah, these are excellent points, Sumami, and stuff is complicated. And look, I know a lot of people. I'm not supporting any third parties. I don't support the protest vote, and quite frankly, I don't support staying at home. Your ass needs to get to the poll and vote for Kamala Harris. I'm sorry. There just comes times in life where you have to make difficult choices, and the lesser of two evils is exactly that. But you have to understand, if you really want the conflict in Palestine to end, you have to at least take a shot at it. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You asked me earlier what I thought Kamala would do. I gave you a spectrum of things I think Kamala might do. But all of that, none of the things on that spectrum are possibilities under Trump, at least not now. None of them. And there is a meaningful chance that the Kamala spectrum shifts even further left, that it shifts towards her getting serious about withholding funds and weapons from Israel. It could shift towards her getting very serious about the possibility of military intervention in Israel or in Palestine. All that, or it literally either, either to defend the Palestinians or to attack Israel. And that's a possibility if she's elected, because if she's elected, we can put pressure on her to move in that direction. If she's elected, Israel can continue to do horrifying things that just keep pushing more and more of the American electorate over the red line, to the point that intervention just becomes, not intervening becomes politically unfeasible. And when not intervening becomes politically unfeasible, all of a sudden you will find out quickly there are actually more important things than the Israeli lobby. politicians figure out really quick. I love money, but money that I can't translate into votes does me no good. That's the hard math. Right now, they're still in, yeah, but that money's still really good. And it's so, but when that money becomes just straight up bad money, things can change. But you have to put the right person there that can even receive the pressure. If Donald Trump is elected, you're pissing in the wind, and it doesn't matter how bad things get. So please stop pretending there's no difference. Stop. If you don't care enough, then just say you don't care enough. If you don't give a shit, then you don't give a shit. If you don't, but to say that fuck Kamala because they're not meaningly that's crazy. You're just not being serious about what the facts are.
And no, this isn't a Jewish thing. There are plenty of Jews, both within the borders of Israel and beyond, who do not support this genocide. So any Nazis who thought they were about to find a fellow anti-Semite in me can fuck right off too. And I know there are Christians who don't support it as well. But I'm specifically talking about the ones who make excuses and then argue with me about morality. And they would scoff at me, an atheist, for defending these slaughtered people. Why don't you go over there, they say. Don't you know that they would put you to death for being an atheist, they say. They laugh at people holding a Queers for Palestine sign. They make jokes about it. Ha ha. That's like saying sheep for the wolves. Ha ha. That's like saying gays for rooftops. Ha ha. They're so dumb and delusional, right? I mean, you can even listen to Bill Maher joke about it from the comfort of his studio. You know what that is? It's mass guilt by association.
And it's crazy too, because let's be clear. One of the things I don't like about some of these other regimes is that they're theocratic. And yes, a lot of these theocratic Islamic regimes are absolutely oppressive to LGBTQ people. If you think otherwise, you're batshit crazy and don't know anything about the region or the religion. But what these people are showing you is they understand nuance. They understand people are complicated. They understand, yes, bigotry against people like bigotry against people like me might be wrong, but we can get to that after people like you stop being killed. I'm not willing to set my humanity aside because people are prejudiced against people like me. I admire people like that. If you can say, I know these people have problems with me, okay, we'll get to that. That's very important. But I'm not going to sit back and watch those people be genocided. I just don't care. That's awesome. That's good for them. Good for them. Good for them. They understand being a human being is complicated and often requires a bunch of conflicting considerations, and then you got to put your big boy pants on and do the right thing. And that's what those people are trying to do.
If you're in that part of the world, then you hold this opinion, period. Is that true? Or is that just what you're told, and so you believe, like a simpleton? Do you think there are no Christians, Jews, or moderate Muslims in Palestine? You think there are no gay people in Palestine? You think there are no atheists in Palestine? You think there are no people in Palestine who want religious liberation from extremists? Of course there are, and they're oppressed. People have risked their lives to send me messages from such places just to express appreciation for my YouTube videos, and I've had to tell them to please not take such risks. I know you're out there. The Pakistani government manually bans my videos. I get emails from YouTube telling me so. And before they did that, I used to get messages from atheists in Pakistan. I've gotten messages from atheists in Iran, Iraq, Egypt, Lebanon, and even Gaza years before this happened. Stop believing, blindly believing, the people in control of the narrative. The answer to their oppression is not to kill their children and wipe out their neighborhoods. Even if every single person in Gaza believed that all atheists should be executed and all gay people tossed from rooftops, do you think that means we should want to see their babies starved to death or blown to pieces?
Yeah.
Indiscriminate death sentences all around? How would that make us any better? How would that not create a precedent for them to follow against our children? As an American, are you guilty for everything America has done? As an American, are you in favor of everything America has done? Because that's the mentality being expressed here. Some extremists in Palestine would kill gay people. Therefore, you shouldn't care if their children are butchered and entire neighborhoods are leveled. Is that the cure for extremism? If someone slaughtered your kids and destroyed your home, is that going to make you less extreme or more? Is that going to make you surrender or fight back like you have nothing left to lose? If you get a call from your child's school tomorrow saying that they're very sorry, but someone from Yemen just slit your child's throat because we dropped bombs on their cities, are you just going to shrug your shoulders and say, well, it's only fair? Yemen had a right to defend itself.
He's just on. I just gotta give him a pause. He's so. I don't even know how he could just record all this like this, bro. You just gotta pause, turn the air on, like cool him down. I'd be like that one assistant pastor in the pulpit. You know, it's 4 or 5 chairs in the pulpit, and the one is always fanning. You know, pastor going. It's that one get up and start fanning them all. Pastor, we just fanning you off. Just. Whoo. The man is on fire. But yeah, he's really pointing out a lot of these hypocrisies that we've just become accustomed to hearing and accepting in this conflict. Yeah, tit for tat, it'll never end. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm reminded of this expression, an eye for an eye until everyone is blind.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. And he makes a good point. It's the same thing about atheists. You know, some of these theocratic regimes, they treat atheists about as well as they treat LGBTQ people. But that is their moral failing. And we seek to change their minds. Dehumanizing them in return would then be our moral failing. And supporting their slaughter and execution would rob us of the opportunity to change their minds. So remember that anytime somebody tries to use somebody's dislike or bias against you as motivation to try to get you to violate your ethics and your humanity, don't take the bait, you know? Yeah.
Which for some reason entails the slaughter of your child. I mean, that's what you're doing now. But it's okay because it's other people's kids, not yours. So it's only fair, right? And that's the real crux of the issue. We are so far removed from genocide that it's abstract to anyone without proper experience or imagination. We get so lost in our first world country and our first world problems that starving children aren't even real to us. Starving children are an infomercial at midnight. Starving children are a picture of Africa or India in a textbook printed in the 1970s. Starving children are the words uttered by a protester you just want to run over with your SUV as you leave the McDonald's drive-thru. But if you saw a skeletal baby lying on a sidewalk still breathing, you would do something about it, wouldn't you? You would stop and help, right? If you saw a collapsed house and heard people crying out for help from within, you would do something about it, wouldn't you? You'd either help or you'd immediately call for help, even if you're a Christian who defends biblical genocide, right? You'd help if you saw it with your own eyes and heard it with your own ears in proximity to the actual event itself.
The shaking fist, thanks for the sub. Oh, that was from a little while ago. And then Jacob Harris, thanks for the sub. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming through. Appreciate that.
Right? You'd help, wouldn't you? And the reason you don't care about the genocide happening right now is because it's just not real enough to you. And that's the exact same reason you don't care about the genocides in the Bible. They're just not real enough to you. They happened too long ago and too far away.
Oh,
And that's
interesting. Interesting. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so what he's saying right now is something he's inspiring me, because I think there's a tactic I haven't used that I must. What he's saying right now, asking people, did that really happen in your opinion? And when they say yes, find out whether or not they think it's wrong. And maybe that's the first thing I should find out. Tell me about your morality. What is right in your eyes? And sort of lead them down on a path to where you can later find out what they really think if they say, well, everything God does is done for reasons sufficient to God. I wouldn't send people to hell. I wouldn't order a genocide. But God did that because he had his reasons to. I think the temptation for people to actually, like when this was put to me, I have to reconcile who I am with what God says he wants to do. And if I don't like it, I have some work to do for myself. I have some more things to figure out if I think God is a tyrant for killing the Amalekites or ordering the deaths of the Amalekites.
Right.
Because they weren't necessarily hospitable to the Israelites hundreds of years prior. Excuse me. Or was it the Ammonites? Whichever one it was.
Right.
So go ahead, talk about that. Thanks for pausing.
Oh, yeah.
Why I've wasted so much time arguing about it, because no matter how many excuses you came up with or parroted, they were all bullshit.
Yeah. Oh, hang on. I'm actually go back so we can hear this, but there's a term for what you're talking about. It's like something discounting or something. It's something to do with discounting, but it's like a name for this idea that he's actually, what he stumbled on. There's like it's like a well-established psychological phenomenon, right? It's even if you think about it, it's related to it's gonna sound weird, but an interesting evolutionary question is, why do women keep getting pregnant? Right? Like, it seems to be like it changes your whole body. You get sick all the time. And then the only way to end all of that uncomfortness is to like birth a child. And it looks really painful. And
It can be dangerous. It almost killed my life.
yeah, and literally, you know, I always hear the cliche of like a woman delivering a baby who's like laying in the, as she's delivering the baby, she's swearing up and down she's never going to do this again. She's looking at the husband, what did you do to me? We're never doing this again. Oh my God. You know, so why do they keep doing it? Well, the thought is that that over time that gets discounted, right? Like that pain, it's while it was years ago, right? You don't remember it as much, and then the anticipated benefit of wanting to expand your family and have another kid and all the excitement, like your calculus is different way down the road than it is in the moment, right? And so that is a thing, that is a well-established psychological phenomenon. And so it is I think that is a really effective tactic if you do it, to get a person to realize that, especially again, that's like leveraging this moment. That's like because now it's a good time to have that conversation and then bring it back to, well, this was going on in the Bible. And those were human children as well.
That's right. I guess what we need people to see is everything we're trying to, as we present our case, or challenge theirs. They need to do so with clarity. My doctor neighbor that I was having the discussion about, the Trump v. Harris discussion, he was more than willing to make exceptions for Trump. He was more than willing to make exceptions for people on Trump's side, like Dinesh D'Souza. He sent me a link for something, Dinesh, and he says, don't, you have to like disregard that he was a convicted felon. My response was simply, why do you keep defending the criminals? Why do you keep doing that? He doesn't realize that there are some people, I'm not making the accusation that all Trump supporters are corrupt, but there are a lot of corrupt Trump supporters, and it didn't bother him. And when I put forth the question, what kind of world, what kind of country will this be if you keep hiring those who took advantage of other people to the point that it was a crime to be in charge? Those same people will complain. They would love to see the number of sexual assaults decrease. They would love to see the number of robberies decrease, poverty decrease, and so on and so on and so on. And yet they're literally hoping, working hard to see that the very types of people who cause problems are put in charge. Are they supposed to stop causing problems once they're put in charge? So many people have said, Dusty Smith says this a lot, we get the government we deserve. So people like Dusty Smith, I'm a big fan of his, they're cheering for the asteroid to slam into the earth and just pretty much wipe it all out. I'm not cheering for the asteroid. I'm cheering for us down here. My hope is that we get our ducks in a row. And I think we can do so in a nonviolent manner. And maybe that's just me being la-di-da-di-da. But I know this as a new father, right? My daughter is 4.5 weeks old. She doesn't hate anybody. She doesn't say anything bad about anybody. She's not making mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, it will come. We put it in there. That's what's so sad.
Well, and I've mentioned that to my neighbor when his daughter was over here. There's a picture of my wife with my daughter and his wife with her daughter, and they're sitting on the floor all together. And as he and I were having a discussion at the dining room table upstairs, and them right next to us, I make the point, like, these kids don't know any of this stuff. They're taught that. They're taught what they're going to hate. And we've known things happen to someone, like a bad thing happens to an individual, and they don't even look poorly on the, let's say it's ethnicity. We'll just use ethnicity. They don't look poorly on the entire ethnicity of the person who troubled them. They don't. That's probably a sensible person. But we live in the same country where people do.
We live in the same country where people hate other people and they haven't even done anything to them. They don't even know any of them.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so my neighbor is unbothered by, I guess, you know, he wants it his way. Again, he wants exceptions for him and people on his side.
Okay.
But he doesn't want, I guess I should have said it. I should have said it. I don't know why I didn't. You don't want equality.
Well, that's where I was going. That's where I was going. Where I was going is there is a.
It scares you for some reason.
There's they fundamentally don't want equality. They want the system. They know, they are well aware the system benefits them. They're well aware. Any guy 2024, they're aware of who's privileged by the current system, and they know that that's a topic of conversation. And the mechanism too that we've allowed people to buy into is the idea that you vote your self-interest. I've been talking about this. We got to stop telling people to vote for their self-interest. When somebody tells you, oh, I vote based on what's best for me and what I need, you should tell them you're an asshole, especially if they're well off. If they're marginalized, if they're on hard times, that's a bit different, because they're literally struggling, and the choices they make probably may severely affect their material conditions. But when people are doing well, they're okay, they're you know, and then they're just sort of selfishly disregarding how bad things could get for everybody else, you know, that's not something that we should let people get away with. We should let people know that's a really terrible motivation, you know, for you to make that choice. But they do. But yeah, I think a lot of these people, they don't want equality, and it's sort of like apologetics. They know they have to reach for something else. They know they can't say they don't want equality, so they have to find something else. And then that's why the conversation gets dumb. The conversation gets dumb because the reality is, especially like, I hate to say this, especially like talking to me or you, because they see our marginalization. They know they're talking to a black guy. And who knows how often they do that or how many of us are in their lives, but it's a bit weird because, in a sense, we know that they're voting for somebody who's openly bigoted. We know they're voting for somebody who is unquestionably racist and not a good person. And in some sense, they know that we know that. They know that. Like, you're voting Republican. We know you're voting for racist, and you know you're voting for racist. And so I think they have to navigate those interactions a bit differently than their normal interactions, where other people, it's okay because, hey, we're all in the club, or at least people understand that people are you know, trying to stay in power and whatever. But yeah, so I think those things get awkward, and I just think they end up reaching for excuses and having sort of disingenuous interactions.
I guess a good follow-up question is, okay, you don't want things to be fair. Why is that?
Oh, definitely.
And explain it to me. Why don't you want it to be fair? Because if you're going to make me look at things you don't like about Kamala, why can't I make you look at things you don't like about Trump?
And
Or
also,
that I don't like about Trump?
and
Because
also,
chances are they don't like the things about him that I'm pointing out, and they wish
100%.
they weren't fair.
And don't phrase it this way, but another part of the question is, why are you such a snowflake little bitch? Because I don't understand.
Well,
Part of what these guys complain about, let me just say where I'm going with this. Part of these guys, they all talk about meritocracy, hard work, what they achieved, what they did. So what's up? You probably went to good schools. You became a doctor. We live in this really nice neighborhood. Your kids go to great schools. You make a lot of money. Why are you so insecure? That's real. That's how you put it. Don't put it my way. Why are you so insecure? Literally, you have the best of everything. Why are you so insecure that somebody else is going to get a few dollars, or somebody else is going to get a job, or somebody else's kid is going to go to college? You can send your kid to school. Why are you worried somebody else is going to go to school for free? What they got to do with you?
Why do you worry about that at all? I tried to hit him where it hurts. I explained, you should really look at this Project 2025 business. You get money from your kids that you're adopted. You two are disabled. So I looked it up. Like, how much money is this going to be? He's got 2 kids he adopted and 1 foster kid. So the maximum in California is around $9,300 a month. He's got 2 that need that care. So I'm going to max him out on those 2 and throw in another 1,000 for the 3rd kid. Now think of that. Just I'll make it round numbers.
Yeah.
$20,000 a month times 12 on top of his salary as a doctor. If you saw the stuff this guy owns, you'd be like, lifestyle hero. Lifestyle hero for sure.
Sure.
So if Project 2025 slashes the funding for all that, now you're on your own, buddy. You adopted those kids. You don't get anything. The mental health that's in place for kids that are adopted in California, the government's not funding it anymore, state and federal, because the federal gave the funding to the state. Sorry, that's out. The money you get for having those kids, the money you get for caretakers, all that stuff, no, you accept the responsibility for them. That's super admirable, bro. Super admirable.
So this brings up another thing, which I kind of got into in one of my streams when I was talking about the Jill Stein issue and why I don't think people should be voting third party right now. But a big part of what happens is the morons and the selfish, they're used to getting away with their dumb virtue signaling because they're counting on the rest of us to carry it for them. Think about what most Republicans would say before the Dobbs decision. They would say Roe versus Wade is established precedent. It's never going anywhere. We're not going to do anything about it. Meanwhile, the entire time they're doing everything they can. Whether you're running for dog catcher, are you pro-life or pro-choice? Because I only vote for pro-life candidates. Man, I'm going to be catching dogs and returning them to their owners, and my job really has nothing to do with that. Are you pro-life or pro-choice? Because I will not vote for a pro-choice garbage man. Right? That's how crazy these people were. Right? And the whole time, though, but what they were really doing was that was cool because it was their cute little game that allowed them to play their little I'm pious, I'm holy, I believe that life begins at the moment of conception, so they could feed into their cult, right? Stay with the in-group morality. Meanwhile, benefiting from the fact that the rest of us would protect their reproductive rights. So then when they needed them, they were there. And that is largely even what wealthy people do to poor people. And this is something that I think people should think more about because it kind of blew my mind a little bit when I thought about it. And I'll tell you where I started. I started thinking about it by thinking actually about DEI programs. When you look into who actually takes the most advantage of things and programs and policies that we put in place to protect marginalized people, it's actually privileged people. Marginalized people, even though we put things in place for them, they're still marginalized. So they're actually, even though it's there for them, they're still less likely to take advantage of those things. We fear reprisal. We don't really trust things are going to go well. We don't want people trying to get retribution on us. We don't want to get a reputation for playing the race card or the gender card or whatever it is, right? So there's a lot of reasons, though, even though these things happen to us and even though they're things that are put in place for us, we don't necessarily always take advantage of them. And even if we did take advantage of them, by definition, there's not that many of us. So we're not going to be most of the cases, right? But people in privileged positions are, they have an anti-male bias and the teacher in my sociology class is picking on me for being a white guy. They have an anti-Christian bias and I get complaints all the time. My professor doesn't like me because he's an atheist. How would I even know what religion you are? And I assume most of my students are Christian. So why did everybody else do perfectly fine except for your ass who didn't show up to class and doesn't do your work and is disrespectful? Did you ever think maybe that's why you got it back? But we've really noticed this. We've literally noticed this at institutions that it's literally largely privileged Christian white kids that do most of the complaining about prejudice and discrimination and things like that, right? And it's fucking weird. So now apply this to economics. Most rich people, the super wealthy, they're super fucking tightwads. So they're taking advantage of all the fucking government programs. Think about why rich people rarely file for bankruptcy, because they start bullshit shell companies and LLCs, and then they use a government program to absorb all of their risk, and then when they're terrible business people and they lose all the goddamn money, they go, oh well, I guess I'll just have to file for bankruptcy with this business. I don't have to personally file for bankruptcy, but thank God there's this great government program to let my company file. But Donald Trump has filed for bankruptcy 6 times with companies. So, you talk about if there's a grant to start up new businesses, who gets it? The rich guys go in there and they make sure they get all that goddamn grant money, right? They make sure if there's a program that subsidizes whatever field they're in, that they're the one. So they are the people who even, yes, they take advantage of the programs they put in place. Now they could talk shit like they don't want them and they don't need them and they support deregulation and da 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 da. But as soon as the regulatory agency says, oh, there's contract money available to do inspections, just like that, again, who you think is the first one eating up all them contracts? So it's another situation where they like to blow hard and say what there's, and they're counting on the rest of us to keep those things in place so they can continue to be hypocrites. It's crazy. All right, let's look at this comment. Social stigma keeps people away from support. Entitlement among the majority allows for the exploitation of programs. Boom, I could not have said it any better. I could not have said it any better, Fox.
All that talk about atheists not having a grounding for their moral values was just complete bullshit. It's meaningless to you. What's the point of having a moral compass if you completely disregard it? If you don't care about what's going on right now, what you can see and hear in the videos and photographs, what you can read about in the letters from doctors who write of holding the brains of children in their hands, if you don't care about what's happening in your era and in your lifetime, then why the fuck would you care about what's in this?
Oh, he been training at the Uncle Bobby dojo.
And that's how you make a point, ladies and gentlemen. That's how you make a point.
But a fantastic point to be made, and it is. This is what I'm telling you. It is horrifying to live in these times and continue to have these people assert that they are the moral authorities. They're the ones with the moral foundation. They are the ones who are holy. They're the chosen ones. They're the ones who are. They're the examples of love to the rest of us. I mean, it gets to a point where it is insulting. And I like to get along with people, but I don't like to have my intelligence insulted to my face. That I don't enjoy.
Me neither. I guess I should. I think I need to spend some time maybe making some videos of how to have these conversations, and in doing that, I'll probably think of new things, and of course, get suggestions from the audience as we have here. Because some people are hard to talk to, but the hardest part of having the conversation is listening to someone try to bullshit us. And one of the things I wrote with my neighbor, I quoted David Letterman. It's not easy, or no, it's difficult because I care. I can't make this conversation easy for you because I care. I can't just let you make all your points and let them go unchallenged and say, you know what, you made a lot of really good points and I really don't give a hoot about any of them because I have counterpoints that you won't care about. But at least you felt listened to, and I hope you feel a little better, you know, and proud of yourself. Yeah. You pat yourself on the back, you know, hug your babies when you get home, tell them how awesome you are. It's just we live, audience, pocket locker. We live in a very difficult time, and we live in a very difficult place. In a few months, we'll have a new president in office, or we recycled one as a nation. Who knows? And most people's lives will not be different because of it. They just won't. It'll be basically the same. When my neighbor complains about the price of gasoline, if you saw what he drove, a high performance BMW, he's got like an $80,000 Ford truck with giant tires on it. He's got like a high performance sedan as well, and a van to take his disabled children around in. Every single vehicle he owns is a gas guzzler. Every single one. And I asked him, so if I were to revert the price of gas to what it was in 2019, can I also deduct your increased earnings from your salary? No. I'm not saying people don't have a right to complain. They do. But I'm not someone who can simply look at things only one way. My career has taught me perspective, something I knew about before I ever got started in finance. But it has really taught me try to get information from as many different angles as you can. Because if you have to build a budget around this thing people want to accomplish, you darn sure need to know the various disciplines and what they require so that you can give the most accurate financial picture before everything starts, right? Before the real money's spent. But you will meet people like my neighbor who refuse to understand that what part of what they see today is progress.
Yeah, and it's some other sucker's responsibility to pay for it.
That's what he sees.
Mm.
That's what he sees. So and my best friend's mom said this too. I think the country is going in a socialist direction. And I'm like, I don't think you know what that means.
Don't think you know what that
Well,
means.
they're all communists. I'm like, you definitely don't know what that means. And I literally, I said, take out your phone and read me the definition of what a communist is. He didn't want to do it. So do this when we're having moral arguments, right? Keep telling people, take out your phone and you look this up. You look it up. And the more and more you see them not doing it, you have to find out, why are you unwilling to sit here with me and investigate this? Why are you unwilling to sit here and get the true meaning for you and I so that we can have a more accurate picture of what we're discussing? And the more and more that they're shunning knowledge, it tells you they don't want to be moved from what they think. And this will sound super critical because they don't want to continue thinking.
Mm.
They want to stay frozen. It was so hard for me. Audience, I know you don't see me be insulting very often. I'm a highly capable, highly skilled individual when it comes to hurling insults. I just rarely do it. Because I've seen it bring people down and humble them the F out and make them sad and all that stuff. I'm like, there's plenty of sadness going on. You know, I have my own sadnesses. I don't want to just start crushing people. I get nothing out of it when I do, usually. So in that conversation, I just kind of tamed my tongue. No need for me to say anything new. I'm making enough good points. I don't have to use foul language. I don't have to insult him, you know. But when we have these conversations with people, I do I think we should all feel free to ask them the tough questions. And if they don't have an answer for that, don't forget they didn't. Be willing and charitable to say, if you'd like to come back to that, we can. But if those things keep stacking up to where they don't have answers, you can conclude the conversation with one final question based on that point. If you don't have answers for all this, what makes you think you're right about the rest of it? If I can prove you wrong, why do you still think you're correct? Why do you continue to defend your position when I've proven everyone? I've said this to my neighbor. I've easily disproven everything you've said. Zero impact on the conversational level. Why is that? As I work on a budget for a project, I'll have some director of one of the aspects of the process, right? They'll bring me a list. Hey, here's my staffing needs. Here's my schedule. I think I can stick to the schedule, but I know other schedules affect mine. Okay, so here's what I need. The next person comes in. Here are my staffing needs. Same thing. It just keeps going over and over. Then there's a director for the whole project that'll come in and say, well, I got the same data you did, but here's what I want to happen. Here's how I really want people scheduled. And I need you to make a budget based on this. By the way, add people here, take them away here, blah, 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 blah. And I'm doing all this, right? I have an education training that taught me how to do all this, to give people an accurate picture of what it's going to cost. I can't ignore the needs of these people coming to me, telling me what they think they need. And I am responsible to this person who's like this director overseeing the whole project. This person who you want to cut their staffing specifically told me that this was the minimum number of people they can get away with. So let's look for excess somewhere else, because you don't have it here. And when they tell me, no, it's okay, I don't forget it. I remember it. And then later when they're saying, how come we're overspending them? Like, because remember that conversation I had? I sent you an email saying so-and-so said they can't do it with your people based on the needs that they had. That's why there's an overage there. I can tell you it's somewhere else where there's savings, and we can just move the money around within the budget. Doesn't mean we'll go over. In these conversations about what to do with America and what kind of world we should live in, there's already enough space for everybody. We know it. So writing people off, in my opinion, tends to be bad. Giving up on the dream of unity and equality is a bad thing. What we need is to embrace that equality so that more people can show us how great they can be. You're always going to have people that lag behind, right? If 90% of the students at a school were A students, I mean, really, they tested so well, they were A students, you still have 10% that aren't.
Yeah.
But the idea, and maybe it's rooted in racism, and they use it for classism, or classism used it for racism, of taking a group of people and holding them back, not giving them the same opportunity, is actually ruining the opportunities that everyone in the future could have, because you're stifling the potential of some people and giving advantages to people that don't necessarily want them. They'd rather do something else. Sadly, that's not easy enough for most people to see that have power to hold others back, to restrict them. I don't want them to have what I have. That means I can't have it. You know, but whatever.
All right, folks, that's gonna do it for us today. I definitely agree with Dark Matter that I think a lot of what we see now has rendered the moral arguments for faith quite useless.
Yeah, they are terrible.
But I do think it's time to have the moral conversation with the believers in terms of confronting them with the reality that their belief system is in fact not moral.
Nor did they invent morality.
Nor did they invent morality. Exactly.
I think that's a key point that is forgotten. We didn't arrive at the first century for Jesus to be born then with people stealing, nor did we arrive at the time before Moses, right? Before Moses wrote down the initial 10 commandments where stealing is forbidden. People understood these things for thousands of years before that. Right? Christianity, nowhere in the Bible is a moral invented. Nowhere. Back to front. So they don't own morality. And if I'm in the conversation, allow me to alert you to a few problems with the biblical text and morality, like selling your daughters or sons into slavery, like owning slaves, period, like stoning homosexuals to death, like stoning your daughter if she had sex before she was married, and so on. And we could just go on and on and on about the idiocy in that book. Now, I wasn't charitable like I normally am by saying they were doing the best they could. I don't believe that's the case with those examples I gave. They were not.
Me either. Me either. All right,
They
gang.
were
That's
stupid
gonna
to create the rules and stupid to follow. I'm sorry.
No. You're good. You're good. So, yeah. Do you have anything else?
On this one, I probably could talk a much longer time, but it's better if
Yeah,
I
me
don't.
All right, gang. Thank you so much to all the mods and
Yes,
everybody
thank you.
else in chat. Please like the video, subscribe to the channels if you haven't already. Leave us a comment later on if you're watching later. Thank y'all
Please
so
do.
much. All right, be good to yourselves.
And each other.
We'll see you.